Hello everybody, this is Murray back with you for the Lavaca County News Review. This is going to be for the February 8th and 9th editions, and I've got my co-host Michelle with me today. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing great. Happy to be back.
Well, good. I guess we'll do what we always do, and we'll start off with what I like to call the flagship of our newspapers, because this is pretty much where our headquarters is located. So we're going to start with the Hallettsville Tribune-Herald. And you want to start with BK Bob?
Yes, I do. I like BK Bob. I did not know he existed till last week, so it was a fun idea I got to find from one of our writers, Mr. Jimmy Apple, who told us that we listened to an armadillo in Texas versus the groundhog in Pennsylvania. So I wanted to know more about it, so he teamed up with me, and I did the artwork, he did the story, and it's a cute little armadillo that says we're going to have more spring, but it's not here yet.
I'll tell you what, this little story is doing quite well on our Facebook pages, and I've also put it up on our website, LavacaCountyToday.com. So you need to check out BK Bob, and Michelle, you did a great job on that art.
Thank you so much.
All righty. We also have on the front page, is anybody going to San Antonio? And this talks about the rodeo coming up in San Antonio. And this Bobby Hariska, our managing editor, took 3 color photos there on the front page. And these little history of this is this trail ride started at Strunk Ranch headquarters at Oakland in Colorado County, and it's going to San Antonio for the annual stock show. And then we have this lady, Miss Klemenchek. Is that how you pronounce that?
I think so.
She's honored as the High School Teacher of the Year from Sacred Heart Catholic Church, and this is by the Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops. Now, this lady evidently, I don't know her personally, but she evidently is very popular in the community. And this story continues on page 8A. But you need to go take a look at it, and especially if you know her, take a look at it. We're going to probably try to get this up on the website sometime within the next couple of days.
Congrats to her.
You bet. And then there's a story about the library. You know, there's been some controversy about that, and it looks like Miss Christek is named the head of the library. And I don't know if you know anything else about it.
I don't know much. I wish her the best of luck. If you need to throw Chuck out when he comes in every week, feel free if he gets too rowdy.
You bet. Of course, we got Henry Joe Yashek, ASA Hank, or AKA Hank. I'm going to mention his little column because if I don't, he'll get mad. Then on page 3, Bobby, she's got a picture about the Holston Church cleanup. You know, if you remember right, we had it in the paper where actually there was an explosion from natural gas. Anyway, we're not going to go over everything because these papers are full of news and you just need to go look at them. And we just pretty much mention the sports and the front pages, and then sometimes we'll get on the inside and more about the trail riders. That's about it, I think, except for the sports. And Chuck Groff, our senior sports editor, has got a headline, the Brahmas knock off Columbus and Industrial, and now they're in a third-place tie with the Cobras. From what Chuck tells me, the Hallettsville Brahmas started off real slow, but they've won the last 4 games in a row. So congratulations to them, and keep it up, fellas. You're doing a great job. And he's got another story about the Indianettes zooming by St. Paul. But anyway, that story's in there with a couple of pictures, and the Indians have clinched a playoff berth. Then he's got a story about soccer. The Lady Brahmas and the Brahmas, they both lost to Wharton this time by identical scores of 3-1. And then Chuck's got his own little column in here, and
yeah, I think he's talking about the Super Bowl a little bit.
Yeah, and he had come around asking some people for their predictions, and he asked me, and I said, well, I want Kansas City to win, but I'm afraid the Eagles might be too much for them. Regardless, we got 2 Texas quarterbacks leading each team. And here we got Gerke named Commercial Heifer Show overall grand champion. And this information was compiled by Michael Grauman. And you'll just have to go inside B section, check that out, because there's too much to list to tell you all about the winners. But just go check it out. Don't forget the classifieds in all the papers. And then on page 6B, or is that 8B? 8B, we have my story. It's called Cowboys Come in All Colors. And it's these cowboys in this rodeo came from all colors. And that's why I call it Cowboys Come in All Colors, from the Old West to the present. And this is a pretty much a personal observation, friends, because I wrote it from a personal experience. I hope you enjoy reading it. We've got it in several of our papers. It's laid out real good on the back page of B section in the Hallettsville Tribune. And now I think we're going to move on over to our co-host in her newspaper, and maybe we'll talk about the Citizen of the Year.
Yeah, so of course you guys all know I'm from Shiner, and we had our local chamber banquet. We call it more of a business expo, and Mr. Howard Glore was named Citizen of the Year at that event, and he was, you could tell, a little bit shocked, but also very humbled by the experience. When you're a business owner, you spend a lot of time working at that business. I know that from experience as well. And so he says he hasn't had a whole lot of time to volunteer, but he was honored to always be able to give back how he could, and that was recognized by the community. And then there's different things that I know Bobby did a great job covering. He's our managing editor, about his experiences. Howard was caught off guard, but had a great speech. And I know he does great things for the church and different things. So he was a great representative of what we believe a good Shiner citizen is.
Well, his place is a pretty good hangout over there, isn't it?
It's pretty happening, yeah.
It reminds me a lot of what we had here years ago in the back room of Hofer's Drive-In. We had a place, and I wound up naming it the Dung Beetle Saloon, but I was working part-time there at the time, and on my days off, I'd go in there and record some of the things that the boys, as I call them, and the things they said, and it was hilarious. Anyway, this reminds me a lot of that, and next time I'm over that way, I'm going to be sure and stop in.
Yeah, you should. You could get ice cream or beer, whichever,
All
or
right.
both.
So it covers everybody. And we have more about the trail ride passing through Shiner. And then we have another story about Egan Barthels resigning his seat on the city council. I was thinking that he just got on there.
He did. I think this was his first term, and he did have to resign basically because of a new job he received. So we wish him the best of luck in that. He didn't want to have the conflict of interest or hurt the city in any way. So, well,
he's a good man, and he'll certainly still support Shiner and the county at every opportunity. So we're going to scroll on down here, and I'll let Michelle pick out anything she thinks is important here. We mentioned this.
Yeah, the awards banquet that's coming up. I thought it was interesting. I haven't actually got a chance to read the article. Okay. I know that Essential Oils article has made several. It was a contributed article, but it made several of our newspapers. And so it's about cooking with essential oils. So definitely I recommend checking that out. I know I am.
Yeah, they do the Big Buck Contest Awards, and that's a big deal. Not only in Lavaca County, but I've got friends in Gonzales County that participate in that Big Buck Contest. Right. I have a good friend that won it a few years ago. And the Shiner KCs have a Super Bowl chicken dinner this Saturday.
It's going to be fried chicken. That's some really good fried chicken. So if you don't want to cook and you're having a party, go get you some plates. Take the day off. Enjoy it.
And do you know anything about this FFA stock show?
I know that it is coming up. I also know that Janet there at the Shiner Gazette is selling ads for that page. We talk about ads quite often, how they support what we do and support the youth of our community, so we can put their pictures in the paper. So if you wanted to buy an ad, make sure you contact her at the Shiner Gazette, and I'll be designing those pages. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that'll be great. You know, we always need to highlight our advertisers, because when you stop and think about it, they pay our salary.
And we like to get paid, right?
Yes. I don't know what I'd do without. But anyway, we're going to scroll on down to the Shiner Sports, and Mark Luby, our sports editor over there, who does a good job, and he's got district champs, and Lady Comanches claimed title with a win at Flatonia. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, they've had a really good season. I hope it continues, and that's a great picture there by Mr. Howard Essie. I know he's been doing some contributing photos lately, and he does a great job, so thank him for that.
Then we have another story about the Bulldogs hold off Shiner, which that's Flatonia. Evidently they beat Shiner 68-52. But as always, they'll rebound, so we're not going to worry about it a whole lot. And we've got another story about more All-State awards to these Shiner Comanches, and Dalton Brooks and Jacob Werner, Beck Bishop, Ryan Peters, and a few more. So be sure and take a look at that. Shiner High School Band. You know anything about that?
I know that those students did a great job at competition. It was a bunch of, I think, 7th and 8th grade band members, and they're listed in all the different things they won. They came home with some big awards. The future of Shiner High School Band right there.
No, that's good. 2 good color pictures, and then our friends at Patek's Grocery, they're big ad every week. And then we still got more about the trail riders. Beekeeping course. I think somewhere he had some pictures of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was in Hallettsville. We just saw one picture. So if you want to be a beekeeper, there's your ticket.
Yep. There's a fellow over in Gonzales County. In fact, he's the guy I took my concealed handgun course from. And he does that. That's his hobby. And he enjoys the heck out of it. But I don't think I'd like it.
No, I don't want to get stung. That's okay.
All right. I guess that's going to wrap up the Shiner Gazette. And if you're ready, we'll move on over to Yoakum.
Sure thing.
Yoakum Herald-Times, lead story, front page by our ex-employee here and a freelance journalist, Hans Lemon. And he's got Preserving Yoakum's Black History. And that's an interesting story about their cemetery over there. And they put my picture from that rodeo and on there, and then it'll jump to page 10. But we've already talked about that, so we don't need to go into that.
More band students.
Yeah.
Doing a great job.
Named all region area and all state. We have a story, and it's also continued on page 10. We'll go on down now, and we've got Hans's Yesteryear in Yoakum, a column he does every week, and it's pretty interesting. This one is from February 28th, 1968. So you folks over there in that area, you might be interested in reading about this history. And we had a police report, and then we jump into the Herald-Times Sports, and it was good news in Yoakum. This was written by Mark Luby, our sports editor in Yoakum and Shiner and sometimes Moulton. And he has a headline that says, Bulldogs win both district games last week. So congratulations to them. And also the Lady Bulldogs defeated Palacios in their last home game. And here's another one about the boys soccer. They're having some problems, but they'll work it out. You know, we know that one game doesn't make it all. So they're pictured by courtesy of Raymond Rosas, and we appreciate that.
It looks like there's a teddy bear drive. I know my daughter did one a few years ago, and that's really appreciated. So check that out, what they're looking for. There's different drop-off locations, and I know that those teddy bears bring a lot of comfort. So
is that donations? And
I think so. It looks like it's benefiting Driscoll Children's Hospital in Corpus. So there's different drop-off sites, and it tells you that you can even drive through and drop off at Homeheim Prairie. So
that's great.
I don't know if most of the time for hospitals, they do need to be like new bears. So you may want to call or ask to make sure. I don't see anything written about that.
So this is Driscoll's Children's Hospital in
Corpus. Yes.
Well, that's good. That's a really a good cause. We have the business of the month for Yoakum
Yoakum General Store.
Yeah. Jeffrey and Jackie Boswell and Brett and Ann Jacobs purchased the existing building in 2016 as they wanted to keep the history of a long-time existing building. but it needed extensive renovations, and they were able to open the doors in September of 2017. Congratulations to them on being the business of the month. We have sorority sweethearts named and have 4 pictures of those ladies. And then the Oklahoma High School class of 1973 has a 50-year reunion. We've got a picture of that. And we have a signing of tough senior football season Bulldog running back Jaden Jones will play at the next level, Angelo State.
That's the best of luck to him.
You betcha. That's an honor right there, and we are happy for him. There again, don't forget your classifieds, and don't forget our website, LaVacaCountyToday.com. And I think that's going to wrap it up for Yoakum, and we're going to move over now, as Hans used to call the Molten Eagle, our cleanup batter. So we're going to take a look at that. And on the front page, we have pictures of the cleanup of that Holston church that we talked about before. And we have the Molten PTO fundraiser taking place this Saturday. And BK Bob is on here again. That's by Jimmy Apple. And we've got 3 big color pictures, and it's headline, Nippers and Bobbins and Rippers. Oh my.
If you know about sewing, that makes a little more sense to you, probably.
That's what I was fixing to ask you. I wasn't sure what all that meant.
I'm not sure what it all means either, but I do see that these youngsters are learning how to sew. I personally don't know how to sew, so I'm impressed. And I know it's a good skill to learn, so. Yeah,
that was members of the Molten Early Bird 4-H chapter that spent their meeting over there learning the finer points of, as Michelle says, sewing. And we want to thank Anna Bartos for supplying these pictures. Good deal.
It looks like the chamber benefit is coming up from them on March the 5th, so read more about that. Support them as well. I think they're the last of our 4 papers to have their banquet.
Yeah, and our town crier, and this is a Henry Joe Hank Yashek feature, and it just lists some of the things that are happening in Moulton, and he's got the annual Altar Society Noodle Soup Dinner is quickly approaching, and you can make donations to that. And then we have something from the Catholic Daughters membership drive being successful, and we have 2 pictures of new members and the raffle chairwoman and Regent Karen Phillip. So they've got some designer purses there, so you might want to check that out. That's on page 3. And we have Katie Kostelnik is crowned the 2023 Queen of the Lavaca County Czech Heritage Society, and Katie is a granddaughter of Donald and Delora Wagner of Moulton. I think we had this story in Hallettsville last week.
Yeah, she's from Hallettsville.
Yeah.
But yes, she has grandparents that live in Moulton. I'm sure they're super proud and excited to see her in the paper this week.
Yeah, I put her up on the website too. So if you don't get the paper, you can go to LaVacaCountyToday.com and you can see it. And then we have some random letters, and we have a story about a Gonzales man being jailed for firing shots from a passing vehicle. And most of that is just feature stories and stories that were just, reminding people of things like Hallettsville, the chamber is bringing back the Christmas light recycle drive. And basically, the classifieds, I don't think we had it. We didn't have any sports. And on page 6, we've got that story about Mr. Howard being named Shiner Citizen of the Year, and that was by Bobby Hariska, our managing editor. But we pretty well covered that in the Gazette, but it doesn't hurt for everybody else to see it as well. And we have the story about Miss Klemenchek being honored as Teacher of the Year. That was written by Jimmy Apple. Jimmy has got all the details in there, and you need to check that out. And I guess, Michelle, I think that's going to be about all.
They're talking about the rain. We got a lot of rain last night. I think I got in Shiner, so not sure if more is coming our way. But I hope that BK Bob is right and we're going to see spring soon.
We had a write-up from our weatherman.
Oh, we did. I believe that
was in Hallis. Well, Alexville isn't wanting to cooperate with us over this internet. I'll have to explain this to you. We get all these pages and all these papers sent to me and everybody else that works for the paper. We get them online. And then what I can do is bring them in and put them on an iPad and look at every one of them, scroll up all the pages, and it's really great when it works.
And when it doesn't.
When it doesn't, well, you're left here speechless. But anyway, check out the Hallettsville Tribune Herald. That weather report is written by our weather observer, Larry Rothbauer, and he does a real good job. And so check it out if you want to know the weather. And I guess for me, I can't think of anything else. Do you have anything, Michelle?
No, it's been a great week here at the paper, and we're getting ready to start on next week.
You bet. Well, our papers turned out real pretty this week, I thought. Of course, they turn out nice every week, in my opinion. But there's a lot of folks that we don't have time to list their names, but there's a lot of folks at these 4 papers that work mighty hard to bring them to you. That being said, I'm going to tell you goodbye for now, and I'll let Michelle tell you goodbye as well, and we'll see you next time.
All right, well, it's been great being here with you guys again. I hope to be back soon. I really enjoy each and every podcast. I hope you enjoy listening to me and Murray. Have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.